Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric on our brand new series, Survival Horror Sanctuary, where I take a look at 10 of my favorite rare or obscure survival horror games. And today we're kicking it off with Dark Tales from the Lost Soul. It's an extremely rare and rarely talked about first-person horror anthology survival horror game for the PlayStation 1. It is wild, it is weird, it's got great FMV videos. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. That guy's a supporter, how about you? But in all seriousness, this game is like nothing I have ever played before, and I don't think it's like anything I'll ever play since. It is extremely rare. It's barely even talked about online, but I've known about this game for a while and I've owned a copy of it, and it's been something that I really wanted to talk about. But getting right into the game, this is structured in a very unique sort of way. If you ever remember Tales from the Crypt, anything like that, horror anthologies, this game is doing the same thing. It has 7 independent stories or stages in it, and each one is dealing with one lost soul in this Japanese cabaret cafe. And we're just taking a look at the first story here because it is one of the most intriguing, and you'll see here that we have a lot of decision-making processes. This game is on rails. It almost feels in some ways like a light gun shooter or a walking simulator, but in the horror aesthetic. And you'll see there we had an option. We could have either shot the mask or not shot the mask. This game has multiple endings, and each stage has its own multiple ending setup. You can die. You can succeed. There's a lot of different branching paths in this game, and that's what makes it wholly unique, is that you can keep replaying it over and over again to see what happens. Now obviously this is all in Japanese, but I will say you get the gist of every single story. This is a game where the language barrier doesn't really matter that much, and you can infer what you think is going on because it is chock full of symbolism and other iconography that you're going to easily be able to understand. Because in this first level here, the plot revolves around a blade-wielding murderer who's decapitating people, and you have a sub-story of the player character's family either burning in a Ferris wheel accident or otherwise being killed. But that's what I love about this game so much, is that you can understand it even if you can't read or speak Japanese. And this is a highly stylized game. In some ways this feels more like a piece of art than it does a video game. And it's really interesting that this came out in 1999 because we were in the era of Dreamcast, and while I do love these graphics, they have a very stylized look to them. It definitely is aged relatively poorly compared to what came out back then. But you'll see there is player interactivity. You had to push back there before that stake plunged through your heart. And the game is almost in a lot of ways like a light gun game, except you also have controls. You'll see here this sickle is trying to kill us and we need to react quickly. So it's a quick time event game that also revolves around some shooting elements where you have free use of your cursor. You'll see here we've had the gun knocked from our hand, and it is just so imbued with story, and that's what I absolutely love about this game. It feels special. It's like nothing I've ever played before or have ever played since. It feels like the advent of the walking simulator game started here in Dark Tales. But you'll see as we move on to the night wheel, obviously it's just a Ferris wheel, we're going to get a little bit more story drop, and that's what I love about this, is that anthology nature of it. You get 7 different tales of morality and other aspects of human nature that really tie the story well together. And you'll see we go up to this mask here, and behind it we're going to get part of a photograph that has been burnt or charred. It's a man, a woman, and a child. And as we continue to play this first bit of the horror anthology, we're going to start finding out more of what happened to this family. And I will say the nice thing is all of the photographs and all of the newspaper clippings we get are in English, so you are able to read those. We can't understand what the player character is saying, but honestly, I love leaving it to the imagination because our imaginations are so much more effective at telling us a story than the actual story is in a lot of times, because we put in what we're afraid of or worried about in our own imagination, and that makes the tale feel way more relevant to us. But you'll see here we even get a phone, and I don't know exactly how the game functions. You had to push a button to be able to listen to this phone call, but there really isn't anything on the other end other than strange music. But I think a lot of these decision-making processes have something to do with what ending you get. There is no walkthrough to this game online, and that's kind of what I love about it, is we're learning as we go along. And you'll see there we had to push up not to get stabbed in the chest by that sickle as it came out. But as amazing as this game is artistically, it also sounds really good as well. I love the erythro soundtrack, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds, and I'll come back and tell you more why this is a special game you should check out. But enjoy.
2分の切れっ端相当古いもんだな。1955年12月24日、イブの3時、観覧車炎上。おお、銃が。
I just absolutely love how stylized this game is. The camera angles, the slow motion, the flat shaded polygons. It really drives home the universe that this game takes place in, and it feels so unique and so different to anything I've ever played before that this to me feels like a revelatory experience that I want more people to experience themselves. And it definitely is survival horror. It may be a different version of it, but your player character is weaker than anything it's going to encounter in the entire game, and it does have that sense of suspense. And you'll see here as we're running up the stairs, we do have quick time events. Fail one and you die. You get 3 continues. If you use those 3 continues, you need to start over again, or sometimes you get the bad ending. And you will see that I will show you the ending to this particular area, and I get one of the endings, but it certainly isn't good. And that's what I love so much about this, is that each segment is only about 20 minutes to play, but there's so many different ways to play it. You can encounter different areas of the level or different endings depending on your actions. And because there is no walkthrough online, you may see an ending that no one's ever captured before, because I will tell you, trying to even find information about this game online is next to impossible. There's like 2 articles written about it. It is that exceedingly obscure and rare. I couldn't even find a copy of this game for sale on eBay when I looked for it, but if you do see a copy and you're a hardcore PlayStation 1 collector, I can't recommend you pick it up enough, because this is just a special and unique experience, one that is like anything else you've ever checked out before. And as you see here, as we run into the labyrinth, the game does give you more puzzle elements that you do need to solve. It also has a puzzly nature, which is why I put it in the survival horror category. And as you get into later levels of the game where you take over other characters and their descent through this world, things definitely do get more difficult. But you'll see here, we have a binary choice, and that's a lot of what the game gives you. You get this decide menu, and you need to either pick, do I want to go to the door or do I want to go to the statue? There is a right answer and a wrong answer. Not every wrong answer kills you immediately, some just change the game, but we decided to pick the statue, and as we walk up to it and click it, we were able to open that door. Now I haven't played this the opposite way to see what happens if you go to the door first, but I definitely want to do that. But as we walk into this room here, you're going to see a table and another door. And again, we get the option to decide what we would like to pursue. And I love all the sound effects as well. They're unique, they're dramatic. So go ahead and listen to the sound effects for like 30 seconds. I want you to hear more because it's so important. And I'll be right back. The industrial nature of both the sound effects and soundtrack does absolutely marry perfectly with the concept and visuals of this game. And I will say Dark Tales in some ways transcends the video game format and almost feels more like an artistic piece of art. The storytelling, the visuals, the way the game plays, it's so wholly different to anything else I've ever experienced before that I have to take this more as an artistic merit-based review than an actual video game review, because of course it has limited interactability. It is a video game with a lowercase v, not an uppercase v, if that makes any sense. But what is on presentation in Dark Tales is absolutely phenomenal, and it is just something that should be celebrated. This is a game that's trying to do something new and unique, and definitely we saw more people take this format and run with it with all the different horror walking simulators. This became really relevant later on, and you'll see here we found the full photo of our wife and child. At least I assume they're our wife and child because we found them throughout the game. But short of that, that is Dark Tales from the Lost Soul. It is one of the strangest, most intriguing, most unique, and most artistic games I have played on my entire channel. And the FMV videos are extremely well acted as well, so I will leave the entire intro FMV up after the credits because you guys need to check it out. Short of that, thanks so much for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday, another episode in this series. We'll have videos throughout the week as well. If you have any questions or comments, I'll leave them down below. I've lost my head. Bye-bye.
ご来場の皆様、ザ・ロストソウルにお越しいただき、誠にありがとうございます。私が案内役のテラーでございます。以後、お見知りおきを。さて、お待ちかねの余興が今宵も始まります。ご来場の皆様には大切な思い出の品を一つお持ちいただいていると思いますが、おや、グローブですか。いいですね、スポーツは。でもやりすぎはいけませんね。ボールに血がにじんでますよ。そちらのご婦人は鳥かごですか。曲線が美しいですね。しかし肝心の小鳥はどうしたんですか。かわいい人形ですね。ピエロですか。ピエロといえば私、面白い話を知っています。殺人鬼を追い詰める刑事さんの話なんですがね。失礼。最初の余興はこの話にしましょう。ミュージック。舞台は夜の遊園地、おいつ、おわれつ、キャット&マウス。お楽しみください。